everyone. Welcome to today's episode of the Glow Podcast. I am here with a very, very exciting guest. I have Jen from Luxxe Honor with us, and we will be going over all things Luxxe Honor and also going into some aesthetics, what led her to start this business. If you're new here, we are Tailored Marketing, and we specialize in helping skincare clinics as well as aesthetic clinics grow their practices. So if you're interested in learning more, drop a comment below. And Jen, I'm so excited to be here with you today. If you can kind of just go ahead and give an introduction to who you are, what you do, what led you into this industry.
Hi, Taylor. Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone. My favorite subject. So I am Jen Del Giudice, and I own a wellness apothecary and natural product company just west of Chicago. I just moved my business to beautiful Brookfield, Illinois.
Wonderful.
And thanks. And I sort of have two businesses within the business. I have three girls, first of all, and I'm a registered nurse, and I'm an esthetician and aromatherapist. And Luxxe Honor has the Wellness Apothecary, which we offer services. I want to get people into that mindset of receiving self-care. So we have organic facials that we provide and massage, and we do a lot of energy work. And then I also have the product company. And that sort of was a secondary thought for me after I opened, my wellness studio. What happened was my daughter, my youngest daughter, she ended up having all these gluten issues, and I began to research all about gluten sensitivity. And that sort of led me down the rabbit hole of learning all about toxins in American products, and it really just frustrated me. And I just then went back to school, to learn more about aromatherapy and the benefits of plant medicine. And I just thought, I could create my own. So I began creating, and that sort of led to this next journey of just really getting into natural remedies and products. And it just spiraled. I started creating, all kinds of products. My first one was my deodorant, and I have a skincare line and some medicinal blends. So it's just, I'm always creating, I'm always developing, and, it's really fun, and it's really a passion of mine, to create more awareness about toxins in American products. And now more people are becoming more mindful of that.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I feel like you were probably kind of discovering that before it became sort of like a trend, because now I feel like everyone's kind of a little bit more on board with it. There's still obviously people who don't know or just aren't educated, of course, but that's super, super cool that you kind of found that gap in the market and you're like, this is my area. So I want to go back a little bit to kind of your in-person services and what you do a little bit. So you mentioned self-care, facials, all of that fun stuff. Can you tell us a little bit more about the services that you all offer and what that consists of?
Yeah, so my whole mindset and my messaging is that we all need self-care, and we're all so stressed out, and I think it's really important for us to all care for ourselves first, fill our cup so that we can give our energy to our family and our friends. So I always say, I'm not a spa, I'm not a health club, I'm a wellness apothecary.
Yeah.
And so my self-care, what I call my self-care membership, I get people, to come in once a month, and you can become a member or not. But within my self-care membership, I offer my clients to receive once a month either a facial, organic facial. They can receive either a facial, a massage, or Reiki. And that's once a month, auto renew. And, if they can't use their appointment for that month, then I allow them to gift it to a family member within the four walls. Also, a part of that self-care membership includes discounts on products. So our members receive 10% off of all of my products, and I have a whole, apothecary of different products that I create, and I bring in some third party too also. None of my products have parabens, phthalates, or synthetic fragrance. And then we're all about teaching and education. So I have Wednesday wellness workshops, and I love to partner, with my neighbors, with like-minded people, bring in community and conversation, have a little wine and nibbles, they desire, and just have conversations like this, and we can reach more awareness. And so that's our self-care membership.
I think that that's great. And it's like sometimes I think the membership model works well for something like that, because if you don't do that, then you almost forget because you are stressed, or, you know, you're like, I have a million things to do. I can't go for a facial right now. So I love the membership model because it's like a reminder, like, okay, I gotta do this. It's the time of the month that I need to go do the thing for me, and I have the time.
Always are just like Energizer bunnies, and we're going. If we all just took, an hour, if we can, of just me care.
Yeah.
I always say to my clients, have you ever walked out of a facial or massage or Reiki and been stressed? No. They can, no, right?
Yeah.
They can take that, that beautiful feeling home, to their families. I think it's really important for all of us, whether it's a self-care, facial massage or Reiki, or just take time for yourself, go for a walk, hit your feet in the ground, get grounded. I think it's really important for people to remember that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And I guess in between appointments when they're coming to see you, is there anything that you recommend for your patients to do besides like walking and grounding and things like that, that they can kind of do on their own time where you're like, yes, like this is good for you, this is self-care, that type of thing?
Yeah, and I love that you just used the word patience. And with my nursing background, my wellness apothecary attracts healthy, but sometimes not so healthy clients. And we're getting cancer patients and people with Lyme disease, people that are going through all this stress.
Yeah.
And there have been several times where I take them in the back in a private space. I teach them how to do some breath works, how to meditate a little bit, even in seconds. Don't get out of bed without setting those positive affirmations and intentions, how you want your day to unfold. And, really, we love teaching our clients how to stay present, not to dwell on the past, not to look too much about the future, but really, to stay present. And I do believe in plant medicine. My roll-ons are in what I call my mood or my remedy blends. I make them at a 10% dilution. So they're really meant to enhance a reaction or physical benefit. I don't, advise to give it to a child if a child needs something for allergy or focus or an abrasion or sinusitis or stress or sleep, then I'll make it at that correct dilution. But one thing that we do with our clients so that they can take it, go home and have a takeaway, is to teach them how to apply a roll-on. Because there is a certain way, to apply plant medicine. They're natural botanicals from, the root, the earth, a twig, a flower, and they have properties in there, that are really healing to the mind, body, and spirit. For example, like, my headache blend. My one daughter has migraines. So I'll teach her, or my clients, to apply it on the temple where she's having the pain, always on the crown, head, applying it on pressure points behind the ears, behind the neck and the hairline, on the inner wrist. Even smelling it is an enhancing an emotion, because it goes into that limbic part of the brain where emotion and memory is, and it's alerting those receptors what to do.
Yeah.
If you're having a moment, a strong moment, you're in an acute state, I always say rub it on the bottom of your feet, because you have the largest pores at the bottom of your feet, and it goes into your body, in your bloodstream quickly.
And I think also too, like with Western medicine, we're so used to, if we're having a headache, it's like, okay, I'm going to take some Advil or some ibuprofen or whatever. But it's not always like rushing to that, but looking also for other natural solutions. So what kind of got you, as like you mentioned, you were a nurse previously, and I mean, you're still a nurse, I'm sure, but like also what got you into more of the natural remedy side of things and kind of moving a little bit away from Western medicine?
So I do believe sometimes we need Western medicine. So I'm not opposed
Of course.
to Western medicine. Let me preface by saying that. But but I do believe in taking the least invasive approach first. And I do believe there are so many natural remedies that we just don't know about, that can either prevent you from taking that extra ibuprofen, or that ibuprofen at all, that's causing toxicity to your liver, because medications have side effects, unlike plant medicine, like essential oils. So what led me, to that was, I think, my daughter. She, with having these gluten issues, I learned all about toxins in American products. Learned that, America's not regulating it. We allow so many toxins to be in our food and in products. The European Union bans 1,300. And of those 1,300, America only bans 40. And
Wow.
I know, it's alarming, right?
That is alarming.
The free world, our beautiful country is allowing this. And it's just, I believe, and studies show that it is causing cancers and Alzheimer's and infertility problems and skin issues and allergies and I believe ADD. There's so many things that I believe, are causing this perfect storm, whether it's toxins in food or it's toxins in the air, but also toxins that are going in our products, which are going into our largest organ, our skin. And, when we think of organs, we don't think of our skin being an organ, but it is our largest organ. And what we're putting on our largest organ is seeping into our bloodstream. It's going into our organs, our microbiome, and it's causing that toxicity in our bodies, in addition to all the other things going on. So when I learned all about toxins in American products, I was in fear mode at the time because I didn't know what this kid could ingest, she could put on our bodies, because even detergents, and I learned all these products had gluten in it. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I didn't even know that back then.
Yeah.
And so that's why I decided I started researching how to make my own things. And that's when I went back to school, to become an aromatherapist. And I took a very structured, comprehensive aromatherapy certification class taught by 2 registered nurses. They went through every body system. It took me about a year to complete. And it was just, it was just fascinating to me. I'm like, oh my God, like essential oils can treat every issue in our bodies. I mean, this is what I believe we need to get back to, Mother Earth. This is why we have all these natural plants and herbals. I just don't think they're meant to look pretty. They're meant to be ingested or applied. And I think we're becoming more mindful of it. I think Europe is clearly ahead of us. Like frankincense, in France is used a lot in a part of their oncology programs because it's known to be anti-tumor. I know we have to be careful in America to claim those things, and I'm not claiming it, but that's what they're doing. And, so I think we need to be a little more educated about that here.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and I do see, like, have you seen at all a shift with this, like, with people paying more attention to these natural remedies and things like that? Obviously, you have your practice, so, people are paying attention to it and people are kind of looking more towards natural remedies as a trend. And are you seeing that?
Definitely. I mean, like you said, when I first started, I opened in 2014. I started building this, in 2011, 2012. There were hardly any natural deodorants. There were no, roll-ons, plant medicine. No one was really understanding this at all. But I do believe it's becoming more mainstream. We're not 100% there yet. But, you can even see a shift, with, more functional or holistic doctors. Here in a neighboring city, Hinsdale, we have the Wellness House, that cares for cancer patients and their families. And they bring in Reiki practitioners. I'm all about energy work. And, they have workshops on aromatherapy, which I've taught there before. So it's getting better for sure. And I think, I do believe that Eastern medicine can complement Western medicine, and why not take the least invasive approach first, and use things that and do things that don't have side effects.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. And you've mentioned Reiki as well, that you all offer that. Could you tell the listeners a little bit more about Reiki for people who are kind of unfamiliar with the practice?
Yeah, so Reiki is an Eastern service. It's all, we're all energy. And, we have practitioners, Reiki masters that go in and get certified. And, they are the conduit, the source. And, because they're open, open to energy. And we all have this ability. So they get certified, and a client comes in, they're fully clothed, and, they'll place their hand over the 7 chakras. from crown, to third eye, to throat, to heart, to solar plexus, root, sacral. And Eastern medicine believes, that we have all of these chakras plus 365 meridians. And if they can, they place their hand over the body and they do a full body scan. And usually the practitioner can feel certain energy blockages and they're able to open those so that oxygen can flow, the cells can become more alkaline and get healthy.
Yeah.
A lot of holistic or functional doctors are open to this. Even one of our local hospitals has Reiki practitioners, which is so exciting because I do believe in the power of that. I've seen that power change my own life, and how I can shift and get out of a negative mindset. And it's beautiful, and we all have that ability. And we can do it actually virtually too. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but we're all energy, and you don't have to be at my location to receive it. And that is something, we're going to work on doing some virtual things as well in the future.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's great because even like you were just talking about energy, like I can, we're talking, obviously, like we can feel each other's energy as we're talking right now. Like you don't have to necessarily be in person to feed off of somebody else's energy with all of the crazy technology we have these days.
Exactly right. And you're exactly right. We are feeling each other's energy. And that's why this conversation is flowing and it's so natural and organic and beautiful because we're both excited and love this topic. And that's why we are picking up on everybody's energy.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what have a lot of your patients and clients and everything, what have they like experienced with Reiki? Like what is a transformation that you've seen someone have with this practice?
So, I've seen so many.
I'm sure.
So many things. Where do I start? People will come in, stressed out, blocked, not sure what to do, about a certain situation. I'll just use an example of someone coming into mind. This one client came in and she was like so confused what she was doing with her life and her career and was just feeling stressed and blocked. And she received Reiki and it was just like this aha moment. And she, walked away with so much clarity and, energy and, came back and she ended up starting her own little business and things just began to open. And because when we can remove certain blockages, whether it's something we're going through right now, whether it's something from our childhood, whether it's something I believe from a past life. It's important to remove that shadow so that we can clear it and open up space for new energy. And that's exactly what we do.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I'm sure that there is a lot of different things and a lot of transformations that you've seen happen with that practice and also with aromatherapy even too. I'm sure that has shown a lot of transformations as well.
Exactly. You mentioned also earlier, Taylor, when I started this, hardly anybody was doing it. And I'm actually glad that a lot of people are beginning, to have more deodorants and remedies because I think, I never feel like I'm in competition with anyone because we all need to get this out. Everybody should be on a natural deodorant or a natural remedy and learn natural remedies. But there is one thing I want to mention that I still have that a lot of my competitors don't. So the one thing that I'm very passionate about is, creating my products, first of all, with so much love, but also clean, non-toxic ingredients. And, all of my products are paraben free, synthetic free as far as phthalates. My deodorant is aluminum free. But the one thing that I don't do that a lot of my competitors, are still doing is they're still putting synthetic fragrance in products. And in America, there is fragrance in everything.
Yeah.
And it's synthetic. And I believe that is also not serving us, not serving our minds and our bodies. And what I do is I put essential oils in all my products because they do come from the earth, from plants, to give it aroma or scent. So for my deodorant, for example, it's not only deodorizing, for example. I choose oils that are deodorizing, but I also create them, for a purpose. For example, the 3 scents of my deodorant, are peppermint, lavender, and lemongrass. And peppermint is a deodorizer, but I also put it in there because my daughter had gut issues. And, the peppermint is really good for gut issues. It's also good for headaches. It's uplifting. The lavender, so many of us are stressed and, worried. So I put, lavender because that's antibacterial, deodorizing, but also very calming. It's good for all skin conditions, good for sensitive skin. The lemongrass is, very uplifting. It's good for blood circulation and flow. It's also good for cellulite. So I can use, our deodorant as a body bar. So I just wanted to mention that, just really for your audience to be really mindful and looking and reading labels, on different products, because again, you don't think of toxicity in product, but if you go and look at a label, and chances are if, the ingredient list is that long and you can't pronounce it, it's probably not good for us. And, you can see, with my products, my ingredient list is very small. I only use vitamin E as my antioxidant, to extend the shelf life. I don't use plastic except my deodorant, but I even want to shift with that. Everything else is in glass bottles. So that too, I just wanted to make sure, your audience is learning more about that and about how to read labels.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's something really, really important and something people are putting a little bit more emphasis on it, but there's still definitely education to be had in that realm that people still aren't fully aware. And so with obviously your passion about this and getting the word out with this, how are you kind of like telling people and educating people about these different toxins and also these different self-care therapies as well?
So what I'm working on, I've always organically marketed my business, and I now know, because I want to reach a greater audience, not just my local community. So I am working on this now. So the things that I do is, I do a newsletter, and I do, I quiet the chatter in my mind, and I do some intuitive writing that's channeled, and my message is always purposeful, whether it's something that comes from me, but it always helps someone else. And then we'll be, giving a little bit of aromatherapy tip in my newsletter and maybe an alternative, and show you, maybe what's in a vino and what you can use instead of a vino or Cetaphil.
Yeah.
Instead, apply a body oil. My body oil that is, made with a purpose to either, to exude or exhibit a mood, but also be hydrating. Newsletter, we're on, Instagram and social media. I have my deodorant now on Amazon, and we're doing more marketing with that.
Wow.
I just got it on there.
Yay, that's exciting.
And then, they're doing some advertising on that. What I'm working on now is doing more speaking about this and video, so what I'd like to work is getting out more on YouTube so it can go broader and it can reach more people. I'm creating a TikTok shop soon, establishing some wholesale accounts, just trying to be more out there on, visually on technology. And not a comfortable thing always for me, but I know I have to do it, and it's going to reach more people, and that's what that's what the purpose is.
Yeah, it's like the same as doing your education sessions, your Wellness Wednesday education sessions, but just on camera, right?
Exactly. I know. It took a while, my generation, to get comfortable, but I'm like, I just got to do it. I just got to be out there. So my marketers are like, they just got me this little light, and they're like, I don't care where you are. If you're feeling something, you just get on camera and talk about it. I'll edit it. Like, okay, I got to do it. I just have to do it.
Yeah, that's definitely how it goes for sure. It's just like you just got to talk about it, and like even you talking on the podcast, like that's education too. So it's just getting all of that out there and everything. So with obviously we were talking a little bit about social media. So what wellness trends or anything like that have you seen on social media recently where you're excited about them, or maybe you're not excited about them? Any hot takes about anything you've seen on social media recently?
Well, I just think, this next generation, millennials and, below, they're just so mindful. They're the most mindful of, this new way, right, of buying products and wanting to take care of themselves. And I just think it's wonderful because I think it's a healthy way to live. And, I have 3 girls, and they are all about beauty and, their clothes and their makeup and their products. And I think that's really great because I think we should be filling our cup and receiving so that we are feeling good about ourselves. I think the trend is more natural. I think people are unfortunately becoming a little more sick, as far as allergies, skin conditions, autoimmune issues. And so people are searching for natural remedies because they just want to feel better,
Yeah.
both have more energy and also physically feel better. People's skin condition. I mean, I have a lot of clients come in and they'll have eczema and psoriasis and, all these autoimmune issues. And I do feel like it is part of that perfect storm, as I mentioned earlier. It's the toxins in the food and the air putting in our bodies. But I see the trend improving. I see the trend getting better and better. And I think we're at the cusp of something great. And I do think we're making a shift on how we treat ourselves, how we treat our beautiful bodies.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on too. There's a lot more trending towards this more holistic health perspective, just overall and everything. People are realizing that the things we're putting in our bodies, the things we're consuming, the things we're putting on our skin are affecting us in more ways than maybe we thought in the past.
Yeah, exactly. I just feel like it's getting, it was getting worse and worse. I mean, I just don't remember all of the skin issues before, or the allergies, or the ADD, or even the autism. And I just, I think more people are becoming more mindful of that. Like, what in the heck is going on? Whatever it is, we have to stop. We have to stop, and we have to take control of ourselves, our bodies. We can't listen to what, is being fed to us, through selling of products, because like I said in, the earlier moments, a lot of this stuff is regulated here.
Yeah.
And so I just think we have to get back to basics. And, and honestly, it doesn't have to be, I know a lot of times natural is a little more expensive, and I won't ever compromise, on my products, even though it's cheaper for me to buy synthetic fragrance, to put in my blends. I won't ever do it. But if you don't have the, the cash to buy some of these things that are offered in stores, you can do other things like, go get some grapeseed oil. Just get some, whatever you have in your kitchen, olive oil. Well, I don't care, avocado oil, whatever you have, even that is better, in applying that as a moisturizer, then I believe putting this toxic lotion on your skin that has all these fillers and ingredients that you don't need, that are there to increase the shelf life, and it's really causing havoc on our body. So, just one step at a time. And I think, I always say, if you can get on a natural deodorant, that's, in my opinion, I think an important, that was my first product that I developed because not a lot, but some of my friends were, being diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yeah.
And, and I'm like, what is going on here? So, applying a deodorant, is important if it's a natural deodorant without aluminum, even without synthetic fragrance, because we want to be actually releasing toxins from our axillary glands. We don't want to be putting conventional deodorant on that's holding all these toxins in where your body can't breathe.
Yeah.
And, sometimes it's hard to, your body has to adjust. There might be a phase where you might sweat a lot, but I guarantee if you keep sticking with it, you take that stick and reapply it a couple times a day. My husband's been on my deodorant, for 10 years now, and he's like, I don't even sweat anymore. I go, I know. I mean, your body just kind of adjusts, even a guy. You just have to be patient. Sometimes it takes a little longer, but I promise you'll get there.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so right now with Luxxe Honor, what are kind of the things that y'all are working towards over like the next 6 months to a year? What exciting things do you have coming up soon?
Thank you. So I'm really focusing on my Amazon. I'm really dedicated to get my deodorant out there. I do get that manufactured, and I have an abundant amount of inventory. And, I really believe that's the most important product to be on because of releasing of toxins.
Yeah.
So I'm really focusing on my Amazon, my e-commerce site, establishing wholesale accounts. So if any of you have, if we're in hotels or boutiques or health clubs, I would love to talk to you. I'd love to focus on public speaking about toxins and, American products, and do more things like this. Podcasts and things like that. So education is a big desire for me to get out there more. And that's really with the products. I'm really focusing on that. My services, thank goodness I have the most beautiful team, and that's become more turnkey. But I always love to come in and bring like-minded people in and present new education. And I love teaching too. I'm a teacher at heart, and I love to get in there and teach a class as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, tell everyone where they can find you on social media, your website, where they can buy your deodorant and all of your other products as well.
Thank you. So visit my website, luxhonor.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Luxxe Honor and Facebook. We're going to be creating a TikTok shop soon, Amazon, and just, yeah, reach out to us. Always send us messages through our info at luxhonor.com. Go on my website, sign up for my newsletter because I do intuitive writing, and there's always a good message that will resonate with you. And we always give great discounts. And stay tuned for some more virtual things as well. I hope to get more virtual workshops and energy work on digital as well.
Awesome, cool. I'll put everything in the show notes as well so everyone has easy access to those links. I really, really appreciate you coming on, Jen. Thank you so, so much.
Well, I appreciate you, Taylor, and just thank you for finding me. And it's really people like you that are going to increase this beautiful momentum, because the more of us that are talking about it, I think it's just spreading awareness. And so, I'm so grateful. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.